Hey there, everybody. We have a new Mythic Hero, and that is Yune, and that's what we're going to be looking at right now. There's not really any need for a spoiler alert because she's already been out, and it's well into Friday afternoon by the time I am recording this and uploading it, so there's no need for a spoiler, finally. But we did have a Mythic banner. It's happening right now. We saw the trailer, so we know some things. We probably got some impressions from the trailer, right? Given she's got skills like Glacies and things like that. Attack res bond. That's always a pretty big indicator of big attack, big res. So let's go over the stats that we're looking at right here. Thank you to Game Press, by the way. The stat image and the max average total stats down below I have there. Those are both from Game Press, so I wanted to utilize some of their resources like I usually try to, just to kind of make the analysis process a little bit easier. So that's what we're going to do using some of that. So you can see that Yune is a green tome flyer. We literally just had a green tome flyer, that being Veronica, the spring Veronica seasonal that we had. We've got some other ones. I think probably the most notable rather is the Nino, the Scattered Fangs Nino. She's still probably one of, if not the best, green tome flyer that we have. But she is slightly premium because, you know, she's locked at a 5-star. She rightfully should be. But we do have Yune. She's going to be showing up on frequent banners. If you're wondering when she's going to pop back up again, I will have a series, the hero tracker that I do after every legendary mythic banner that we get, to let you know what's coming up in the next couple months. She will probably be making an appearance, I would say probably by August, I would say pretty confidently. July even is pretty likely. So we have Chaos Manifest. That is her weapon. It's right off the bat going to grant res +3, and if a penalty inflicted by a skill like Panic or Threaten and or a negative status effect, preventing counterattacks or restricting movement, is active on foe, it grants attack +6 during combat, and the unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. So there's a lot kind of like put into all of that. But you get kind of like a quick repose type situation where you automatically get a follow-up attack. You get this really handy thing of an attack bump of 6 if a negative status effect or you know, the panic ploys or something like that is inflicted on an opponent. So it's a really nice weapon, to be honest. It's not you know, close counter. It doesn't have that kind of option, but that's okay because not everything is meant to be like that. And it's also worth noting that she is a dark Mythic Hero, so she, like Duma, is going to be beneficial to Ether Raid defense teams. So if you're thinking about this, that might kind of be something to consider as well. Because she's not armor, so she doesn't have restricted movement, because she's a flyer, she can avoid obstacles pretty easily. Yune is probably going to be, at least for the foreseeable future, based on how soon we get another Ether Raid defense Mythic Hero out, Yune is probably going to be the unit that you see in defense teams. Just letting you know. that's definitely the thing that's going to happen. So she's also got Glacies, which we knew was going to give her a big old res bump. Attack res bond 3, another one. Sabotage res. So this was a skill that we saw on, I think it was Selkie? I think Selkie had the sabotage skills. So those debuted, you know, a few weeks back. So we have Sabotage Res now, which is the new one, which at the start of turn, if any foe's res is less than or equal to the unit's res -3, that foe is adjacent to another foe, inflicts -7 res on that foe through its next action. So this kind of helps coincide with her weapon a little bit, which is nice. So she's going to get, more often than not, the attack bump from her Chaos Manifest, which is really nice because, as we'll talk about stat-wise, not many units have a res stat that high. So Sabotage, res, great skill for her to have. Ploys as well, definitely going to be looking at ploys for her. Chaos Named is her C skill. And I believe it is unique to her. I haven't looked specifically, but I'm pretty beyond confident that it is. So at the start of turn, if foes within 3 columns centered on unit have res less than or equal to unit's res -3, it inflicts -5 on the highest of those foes' attack, speed, defense, res stats through their next action, which calculating highest stat treats attack as -15, calculates each stat penalty independently. So again, if you get anywhere within that 3-column range of Yune, she's going to inflict a negative stat, and that's also going to bump her weapon as well. So her whole kit is kind of designed to help kind of manifest her weapon. Not to throw a pun in there or, you know, namesake or whatever. But she's also got attack res bond 3, which is super duper nice. So Yune could stack some buffs pretty easily. She can also debuff pretty easily as well. Now the thing that you're going to want to note on Yune, like I said, she's a green tome flyer. She can move around. There's a lot of flyer skills that we have to allow her to join up. The downside is that those are all C skills. And B skills for that matter. So I don't know if she's necessarily going to be Fire Emblem ready outside of Ether Raids. Obviously the C skill with the column mentioning, that's pretty candidly Ether Raid talk that they're going with there. But the other thing is her res stat. Oh my god, 37 res, 15 defense, 27 speed, which again doesn't really matter so much with her weapon. Attack of 33 and HP of 38. Now if you look down at the overall average stats that we're looking at, she's a base 150. But she is ranked 3rd out of the entire summoning pool for highest res stat. That is insane. That is insane. And it might just be a tie. I don't know if we have anybody at 38 or 39, but that could just be a 3-way tie for 3rd, for what that's worth. Defense, obviously, pretty low. She doesn't want to take on direct combat. Speed, again, pretty... It's not necessarily bad. You'll still likely be able to double most unbuffed or debuffed armor units, which is fine. But because of that guaranteed follow-up attack that she's got with her weapon, speed honestly doesn't really matter as much because she's definitely a player phase unit. She's not so much an enemy phase. So attack of 33, ranked pretty decently, I think, for the most part. And then HP of 38, again, kind of mid-tier, I think, for the most part. Anywhere above 35, I think you're handling yourself pretty well. But again, Yune doesn't want to take on direct combat, and if she's getting hit by a magic user, her res stat is going to be phenomenal anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Yune is built to do one thing specifically, and that is deal out a heck of a lot of damage as a res unit. She is going to debuff a lot of units because of her res stat. So if you get Yune, it is important to note that the res stat is probably the most key thing that you could possibly get on this unit. It affects her weapon, it affects a lot of her skills, and it affects her viability in terms of what she's meant to do. And we haven't even talked about the fact that her weapon actually grants res +3. So she's actually at 40, which makes her very, very, very high on the res game. So again, you know, you can kind of mitigate that if you do happen to get a minus res. I don't know if it's a super bane. I haven't looked that far into it. I have not pulled or tried to pull for Yune yet. That video is coming soon. But that is more or less a look at Yune and some quick thoughts that I had behind her. Kind of wanted to take a look and give you some tips on if you wanted to pull or not. My opinion is she's a green tome flyer. She's not exactly fast. She hits pretty well, and she can res tank like you wouldn't believe. But if you're not playing Ether Raids defense, if you're not really boned up on your defense teams like I am, I have not given proper time to pick a defense team for Ether Raids, and I genuinely should because I have a Duma, and you know I could be lowering, I could be lowering my cost every day when I lose inevitably because my team is bad. But I don't pay attention to that. So Yune is going to be very important to your Aether Raids defense teams. Make no mistake about that. You will definitely be seeing them. So if you're focused on climbing, you are more than likely going to be needing an answer for Yune. So probably like a fast sword unit, or one that at least doubles. I think you would probably be pretty okay. Wouldn't necessarily count on a red tome unit. Don't be counting on a Versa all that much. Maybe a Tiburn if you have a Tiburn. That might be a good alternative. But more often than not, you're probably going to be seeing her because typically in higher level Aether Raids, you don't see as many armor units. That's kind of like the mid tier that you get hit with a lot of those. So, but those are my initial thoughts. Let me know in the comments if you guys think Yune is worth it. Are you going to try and pull for her? I know some of you guys on the Discord have already posted some of your luck. F's all around for those of you who burned a lot of orbs trying to get our Chaos Goddess here. But that's it for right now. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to subscribe, feel free to do so, because I do lots of videos like this, and I'm kind of branching out and expanding as well. So if you're down for Nintendo content, I am going to bring it to you. But that's it for me right now. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.